I just arrived in this beautiful forest and the birds are chirping really amazing. I'm actually just kidding, I'm just in our garden because yesterday it got too dark in the forest. Today I want to find out if this variable ND filter from Tyfoto is worth 50 bucks. While I'm just sitting in this tree, I want to talk a little bit more in detail about what an ND filter actually does. And if you already know that, then you can skip ahead to this number here. But let's just get into it. So an ND filter is pretty much sunglasses for your camera, and it will help you to get that nice motion blur, and it will give you this nice and natural look. Because if you use a very fast shutter speed like this, then you will get this very weird and unnatural and jittery look. So what you have to do is set your shutter speed double your frame rate. For example, if you use 24 frames per second, then you would set your shutter speed to 1/48 of a second, and that isn't available on most cameras. So the closest you can get is 1/50 of a second, and that's what you should use. But if you're shooting in bright sunlight, then you would have to stop down your aperture and make it very small to keep a nice exposure. But then you do not get this nice background blur. So what you can do is just put an ND filter, and it works like sunglasses, and it will darken the image. You would have to stop down your aperture and make it very small to keep a nice exposure. But then you do not get this nice background blur. So what you can do is just put an ND filter, and it works like sunglasses, and it will darken the image. So you can open up the aperture and get the nice background blur, and voila, there's your cinematic look. This is the Tyfoto variable ND filter, and it comes in this nice paper box, and inside there's another plastic case. And let me just get this out. Please get out of that box. Well, this design is awful because you can't get the ND filter out. Just grab a knife or something and then poke out a corner of that box, and then you should be able to get it out. And then inside there's a microfiber cloth to clean up the filter. And this is the box that it comes in, and it is really handy because you can just throw this in your bag and then your filter won't get any scratches. So that's really nice. And what I really like about this filter is that it has hard stops, which means that it will stop at the maximum and the minimum range. So you won't get these weird X patterns in your image, which you'll get on other cheaper ND filters. So that's really nice that Tyfoto has included this feature. Let's just get a few shots with the ND filter on and without it. And all of this will be shot in full manual, so manual exposure, white balance and focus. So nothing in the image will change, only the shutter speed will be changed to keep the same exposure. I just got the first shot with the ND filter on, and then my battery pack died. So that's kind of annoying. I will have to get that shot again. But it's really cool that we have this trampoline. We just got it from our grandpa. He had it standing in his garden, but nobody used it. So we picked it up. The only thing is that it doesn't have a net, so that's a little bit scary. We will have to figure something out. Maybe we can make something for that. But anyway, let's get the shot. Okay, I looked at the footage, so here are my results. Let's first talk about sharpness. When I look at the footage with and without the ND filter, I can't really see any difference on my 13-inch screen, so that's pretty good. When you look at it on YouTube, you have to keep in mind that YouTube has a compression and the image quality will be reduced, so you won't look at the original image. When I crop in 200%, I can see a slight difference in sharpness, but it isn't too strong. And of course, if you would compare to a high quality ND filter, then there shouldn't be any loss of sharpness in the image. But what I can say is that this ND filter is for the price point really good, and the loss of sharpness isn't too strong and it doesn't really bother me. When I crop into up to 400%, the image gets reduced in sharpness, but yeah, it still looks pretty good. So let's talk about color shift. You could probably see in the image that the footage looks pretty green with the ND filter compared to without it. But what I actually found out is that if I turn on auto white balance on my camera, the camera will counteract the green shift of the ND filter, and the image will actually almost look the same with the ND filter compared to without it, which is really cool. So the camera does a really great job at correcting the green shift of the ND filter. When you are taking photos, then I can always recommend you to take your ND filter off, that you don't get any color shift or any decrease in sharpness, because when you're taking photos, then you don't really need an ND filter unless you're taking long exposures, which you could also do with this ND filter, but just take it off when you don't need it because it will reduce the image quality. Overall, I can say that this ND filter is a really great choice for 50 bucks and it does its job. Of course it isn't the best, but for its price it's pretty amazing and I will continue to use it. If you're just filming YouTube videos like this where you're filming yourself talking to the camera, then you don't really need an ND filter because it won't really make a big difference. But if you want to be a real filmmaker and you want to respect the 180-degree rule, then you should get an ND filter because it will help you to get the best footage. And if that doesn't matter to you, then that's also cool. Thanks for watching. I hope you have an awesome day and yeah, see you soon. Bye.